Hello all. So till yesterday video we have seen how to create this database, how to create tables and how we can connect that, how we can configure the database into our Mulesoft project. Right, before we proceed further, you need to understand couple of more things before we complete this implementation of library management SAP. Right, so let's go through all the required basics for this particular topic one by one. So as part of our Git example, we have already seen another example, not this one. We have already seen like one developer will create a feature branch, then he can push the code to dev, he can push the code to stage, and he can push the code to prod or master branch like that. Okay, but that is related to the code. But while coming to this deployment part, we need to understand couple of things like every project will have multiple environments. Okay, by default, in general or common, every project will have at least 3 environments apart from local. Local is just for our local testing. So apart from this local, every project should have at least 3 environments, and couple of few projects will have 4 environments also, one extra environment also between the stage and prod. That depends on their license and um, rules and regulations. Okay, but at any cost, every project will have at least these 3 environments. One is dev, QS or stage, production environment. So what is this environments? First let's have some understanding, basic understanding, then we will see how we can create this in Mulesoft and how we can do property files and all. Okay, so local, this we have already know. Like if we for example, if we develop any feature, here I have taken Facebook example again to make you understand a little easy. Okay, so to create our profile, so in Facebook, what will happen if any new user is registered, for that new user one profile is going to be created, right? So with that user information which he has entered, with that information, new profile is being created in Facebook database, and once you log in with your username and password, you can able to see that Facebook page where your profile information is available, right? Let me just open maybe Cloud Technologies Facebook for now. Okay, so for example, I have created one page, profile page for this Cloud Technologies. So once I click this, I can see my profile information like my name or what are the posts I have posted so far in my wall, like that. All this information, my image like profile picture or background picture, like this. All this information will be visible. Let's say that is the profile one. So but before I as a user I can create this page and I can use this page and all. If you can observe this, the URL is https://www.facebook.com. so this is the final environment, final one, because as a users we are going to use this facebook.com to work on our Facebook profile or anything. To use this Facebook application we are going to use this URL as a web page. Forget about app for now. Okay, mobile application just forget about for now. Just as a web user, as a website, we can use www.facebook.com, right? So this is the final environment which is available for the user. This is nothing but production environment or go live. You might have heard something like our project is go live today or next week, something like that, right? So go live means it is a final environment which is released for the actual users. But before that you need to do couple of steps as a developer. See, for example, if you implement a new feature in Facebook, okay, if you implement a new feature like voice recognition or face recognition, something, if you didn't test and you can just release that, you can just implement that code, you can just give it to the actual users. If something happened, if something is not working fine, or if something is having misused, or there is no security for that for that particular feature, what will happen? it will not work for the actual users, and you will gradually Facebook will if some security threats are there, because if someone misuse that voice, or someone use that video or face recognition for some other unethical purposes and all, many things are there, many things are there. So if the actual users don't know how to use that, that is also one problem. And if the functionality is correct, and if we have done any mistakes from our end as a Facebook developers, maybe if Facebook developers implemented this voice recognition feature, if they did some mistakes, if that is not working fine, let's say for example, if the actual user records something, it is stored somewhere, or he cannot hear back something, some errors or some functionality is not working fine. So in that case, if you release that functionality directly to the end users, what will happen? If few users will test, few users will see, and they can give like, hey, this Facebook application is not working fine, this voice feature is not working fine, we cannot use this, something like that. So your credibility will go down, and the end users, if they misused it, again it is a security threat for you as a Facebook, as an organization. This is just a simple example to make you understand. Okay, so to avoid all these things, what we need to follow is, first, if we implement any feature as a developer, we need to first test it locally with the single feature. Then, as we already discussed about that coding, like if multiple developers are working, their code is available in their local, and all their together all the developers will merge their code to this development branch. So everyone code is available here in development branch. So all the developers will do integration testing here for all the development code. So that is why we need to first push the code from our local environment to dev environment instead of directly moving to the production. So once we move the code, it will automatically deploy, and it will be available for the users, right? So that's why first we need to maintain this into different branches. So in dev environment, we can do the environment testing, sorry, integration testing for all the features, which is actually in hand of testers and developers. Then if everything looks good, then we will move the code to next environment, which is QA environment or stage environment. So if you see, the URLs also different for each and every environment. Whenever you see any appendix on directly at website.com, if you see any name like this is nothing but actual production environment, www.facebook.com. But in their local environment, they will have multiple website names. If you remember, this chat gpt is the new one released, new AI tool, right? So what they have done initially, they have given the chat gpt as a beta version for a couple of the users, right? So that is like QA or stage environment. That is not the actual production environment of chat gpt. So in QA or stage environments, what will be done, right? Some few real time users will use this, and they will test it, all the features. So once they have given UAT is done, this is called a QA stage or UAT. You can name it as as per your um, coding standards, sorry, naming conventions. You can name it as UAT stage or QA. That is what I said. In few projects, we can split this into two different environments. QA is one environment, UAT is one environment. UAT means user acceptance test. So a couple of the real-time users will test here. If they give green signal, they said like everything is working fine, then this code is fine. Finally it is reached to the actual production environment. It is available for all the users of this particular application. So like that, we have multiple environments. Okay, so why I have to say this at this point of time, right? So we have captured this we have configured this database connector, right? But as a best practice, as Mulesoft suggests, we don't have to use these properties directly here. I mean, we should not use these values here directly. We need to externalize these values. This directly giving values to the any property is called hard coding. So we need to avoid this. We need to externalize these values into a property file. That is why I have explained this story for you. Because see, in dev environment, we have a database. Same database will not be available for another environment, because this is just a test data. This is not the actual data. See how I can explain this in a general way, right? For example, if this is a bank application, we are all the users of ICICI or HDFC or SBI, anything, net banking users. We are all real-time users, right? So our data is the actual data to the SBI bank. If they want to test any feature, they want to test any transaction is working fine, any new feature is working fine, they cannot play around with our data because we are the real-time users of that bank. If you have a net banking account of ICICI, if ICICI bank have implemented some other new feature like transferring limit is exceeded or they want to test it, they cannot play around with your actual money, with your actual account, with your actual data, right? So to test that functionality, they have some test data which is not the real data. Just like in our RAML, we have done some dummy data, we have given some dummy data. That data is not available in the database, right? Just like that, they have some test data. So with some test data, they will test it thoroughly. So in that case, the database is different. The database credentials is also different. Credentials means this username and password, all the details which we are used to connect to this particular database. Those details are nothing but credentials, username and password usually. So the username and password is different because this is not the actual database for the particular bank. Okay, so we have a lot of different. This URL is also different here. See, the URL is dev.facebook.com. For the stage environment, the URL is beta-facebook.com, something like that. So every information is different, but the connector is same. Right. If you want to test this into dev environment, you need to give the values of dev environment username and password, the database connectivity values. But the connector is same. The code is same. Once we implement this, you will understand the code is same, the connector is same, the configuration process is same. Only thing what differs is the values. The values which we are given here, the host, this host is related to dev environment. But for stage environment, the host is different. For production actual environment, the host, port, username, password, everything is different. All the 5 values are different from each and every environment. So how we can maintain those details in our Mulesoft application without modifying the code? See, without this properties files or without this externalization feature, what will happen? If you want to deploy this application into dev environment, you have to come to this application and you have to edit this code. You have to give the dev environment username, password, port, host manually. Then you need to just save it. You need to deploy it again. If you want to, once it is working fine in dev environment, if you want to move the code to stage environment, again what you have to do, it is just generic I'm saying, this is not actually we are going to do in MuleSoft. Okay, so what will happen without this properties externalization, without the properties file, we have to do lot of manual work like this. For each and environment or each and every change, we need to come to our code, we need to change the code, we need to deploy it, right? So to avoid that, we should maintain all the information in different properties files in MuleSoft. So how to create those property files and how we can configure that, we will see now. But for remember that for each and every environment, we have a specific property file, and we are going to modify this database connector configuration. Instead of giving the actual values here, we are going to give the key names of that property file. So each and every property will have key value pair. Just like the JSON data, each and every property file will have key value pair, and we are referring these values from that particular properties file. Every property file will have a same key, but values will different. Remember this point. Now we will see how we can implement that. So instead of giving values directly, we can put these values into some property file with the same key name for all the environments. We can just pass that environment name from runtime manager of Cloud Hub. So it will automatically come to that particular file. It will pull the values from that particular file. It will replace the keys with the actual values in the runtime. So what is the advantage of this one? We no need to touch our code. We will just need to send the environment value. We can maintain all the values in one properties file. So we need to send the environment name in the Cloud Hub. So based on that environment name, it will pick the actual file, that particular, the related environment property file, and then it will replace the values in the background. You don't need to do anything manually now. What you have to do, you need to maintain all the properties files specific to that environment. You need to know how we can pass that environment name from Cloud Hub. Then it makes your work easy, because you don't need to write you don't need to edit this code every time when you move the code from one environment to another environment. Okay, I hope you have some idea now, but once we do it practically, then you will get complete understanding of this. Okay, so to do that, we need to create couple of environments in our AnyPoint platform. Let's start with that. So I'm just logging into my Cloud Hub. Yeah, so to create new environments, you have to go to Runtime Manager. And first, we'll see what are the environments available. Then we will create an environment by going to this access management. Okay. Ah, I expected this trial has recently ended. So my 30 days trial account is expired. That's good. It expired before we start the actual implementation. So what I can do, I will create a new account, but in that new account the RAML will not be available for me. So so if you have any issues like this, if your account is expired, what you have to do, you need to download everything, the APIs and fragments, everything. You need to create the new API for a new account. You need to create new independent platform account, and then you need to import all these things manually one by one. Okay, so I have to reset this again. So this is the actual implementation. So I'm just downloading this. You can just download project. I'll show you if your account is also expired, how you can retain these details, because this is the trial account, right? It will be giving you only like 30 days trial. But in your real-time projects, you no need to do this, because they will purchase the license, right? It is a lifetime access, or the until that license expired, you will have all the access. So I have to download all these things, right? Okay. So first I'll show you how to import this into a new account. Then maybe in the background I'll do for all the other things, because it will kill some time. So you have to do like you need to just download it one by one. It will download it as a zip file for you. Okay. And your query parameters, SVP API, and this common headers, everything you need to download first from your old account. Maybe I'll pause this video, I'll download everything, then I'll resume it. That would save some time. Yeah, so I have created new account, Clat Test SEP 2023. As you know, my old account is expired, so I created it. But before that, I have downloaded all the other projects I have created. I mean, the fragments and everything, I have downloaded it. So what you can do now, maybe if your account is also expired, you can use this option. Instead of creating everything from scratch, you can use this one, import from file. Now you are able to import the zip file as well. So you can choose the file first. Okay, you can import everything one by one like this. First, better let's import all the fragments first with the same name. And you can click on import. Now the rights has been imported. And remember one thing, whenever you have created a new account, your organization ID will also change, because this is the trial account, right? So it will be unique. Every organization has unique ID. So your organization ID will also change. What it will happen is, like, when once you import the specification, there as we have added all these fragments as the dependencies to the specification. In the dependencies, it has the organization ID. Okay, so if you didn't import all these fragments manually in this new organization or new Anypoint platform account, it has some error like the organization ID not found, something like that. Let's import the specification and see what happens so that you will get understand. Okay, so I am just importing the specification now instead of fragment. Now you will see what is the problem. So this is the specification, I mean the main RAML. Okay, so I'm just copying this name, remove this, click import. See, you will find these many errors because this is the organization ID which is from my old account. Now how you can fix this? Go to Exchange, um, Exchange, share, publish. Okay, okay. I have just added one fragment, but I didn't publish it yet, right? So to avoid these errors, what you need to do, you need to first add all the fragments by importing them as I shown earlier. We need to publish them, all the fragments. Then again, we need to add them as a dependencies here. So we need to do this if we are, let's publish this later. Okay, if you have to do this if you are using the trial account and if your trial account is expired in between, like that. Just in my case, I have used my last month account before start this course, so that is why it is expired. So I just wanted to show this process as well. Okay, then now I think you understood like how to import this and all. So the now I'll pause the video. I'll import all the other things as well, other fragments also one by one. Then I'll resume it. Then we will, maybe we can see the creation of environments now. I'll do this in the background. Okay, so I'm just importing other data type. Let it be. I'll import the other data types later and I'll add them as a dependencies to the specification later because we already know this process. I don't want to waste your time. Okay, so now as we discussed, we have to create these many environments for Anypoint platform first. Then from our Anypoint studio, we have to create multiple environment files. And here you will also get one doubt, like earlier we have imported this RAML. I mean, while creating the project, we have selected this RAML from my old account. Now that is also changed, right? So now you need to add the modules. For our implementation also we need to do little modification. I will show that later. First let's understand how to create this environments. So to create any environments you need to go to access management, and if you have already have some experience of this access management and creating environments, the navigation is changed. Now maybe from last 3 or 4 months the navigation is changed. Okay, earlier you will find environments here, the option environments option you can find here directly, but now it is little changed. So you need to go to business groups, then click on your business. Here you will find the environment. I have already created one video earlier. Okay, so here go to environments. By default 2 environments will come with the free account. You can just delete this to avoid confusion. Okay, let me delete sandbox as well. Now you can create environment. Okay, so let's create 3 environments. Dev, the type of environment is sandbox. Only production environment type itself is a production, remaining or sandbox. So another environment, let's create like stage, and the type is sandbox. This is how very simple you can create the environments. The other environment is production. This is actual production environment, but as this is our trial account, we may not use this production, but just let's create just for the namesake. Okay, yeah. Now we have three different environments. Right, in design center we have imported a couple of fragments and RAML. Let me just import other things and publish and fix this errors. Then what you have to do, okay, we have not yet published it, right? It won't be visible here even if you add the modules also. Okay, let me. Okay, then I'll pause the video. I'll import everything. Then I'll resume it. Okay. Yeah, so I have modified this project with the new RAML, and I have imported or published all the fragments in my new account. If you remember, it is expired. So in this new account, I have imported all the fragments, all the specification. I have modified the specification as well by updating this new dependencies and all. So now, yeah, now it's time to create the properties file. So how you can create the properties file? So how the property file will looks like? Actually in Mule 3, the properties file extension is like a file name dot properties. But now in Mule 4, most of the not most of the but yeah, you need to give property names like dot YAML, YAML files. So for example, dev.yaml is for dev environment property file. QA.yaml, this is for QA environment or stage, and we have created stage, right? So let's give the same name, stage environment property file. Prod.yaml is like a for production environment properties file. Like this we have to create each and every we have to create YAML files for specific environment. How this YAML will looks like? YAML is also just like a JSON structure, but the syntax will differ. So YAML file will also contain key value pairs. I'll show you how to use that. Okay, let's do step by step. Let's create the files first, then I'll show you how you can configure that dynamically by removing this database configuration values here, and how we can read it from the properties. Let's do that. Okay, so to create that, let's create one more folder. Remember one thing, to create any files or any other than these configuration files, other than the actual mule flows, if you want to create any files or any other input data, you need to give this folder. You need to follow the folder structure. You have to create those files in src main resources, not src main mule. Src main mule folder is specific to Mulesoft configuration files only. I mean that XML files where your Mulesoft flows will be. So to add any other files, you need to create the structure or create the files under this folder, src main resources. So you need to just right click on this src main resources. Let's create one folder first for this properties. So you can give properties, finish, and inside these properties you can create multiple files. So to create new file, click on just you need to right click on this folder and go to new, select new file. Here you can give like dev.yaml, and sometimes we need to have test resources, test credentials. So in that case, for our local environment also, you need to create one property file which is nothing but local.yaml. Let's first create all the files, then I'll show you how to add the content. So this is for my local environment, local.yaml. Okay, YAML. Okay, so just like that, stage.yaml, stage.yaml. But for now, we don't have any other properties, new databases for each and every environment. But let's follow the same steps. Okay, so prod.yaml. So that's it. For each and every environment, I have created specific properties file. So first let's configure our local.yaml. This is for our local testing, right? So what are the properties we are giving hard coded here as of now? So this listener, we need to first externalize all the properties. So listener properties, or we are using directly here, right? See this path, and once you click on this global configuration, here the port and the read timeout, this is the default one, but still you need to externalize these values. Okay, so for this HTTP listener, what are the properties we have? We have hard coded as of now port, read timeout for now, port, read timeout, and here the path. These three values we need to externalize first. Okay, so to do that, go to local.yaml. You need to first give the this is the best practices actually. You need to give the connector name first, just for our understanding. So http colon, you need to follow this syntax, the connector name colon. Now enter, give space, just like RAML. You need to follow indentation also here. So what are the values we need to externalize? You need to just list out first. So port colon, and the value you can give in quotations. What is the port? 8081. Remember, after colon you need to have one space, then the value should be enclosed with double quotation. Then for this HTTP connector, what are the other value we need to externalize? Other property, path, right? So just copy this value, go to your local.yaml. The key name is path colon space, the double quotations you need to paste the value. Sorry, it has pasted outside. Okay, like this you need to add all the values in the property file. So what is the other one we have seen? You can see all the global elements here in this tab. Okay, so the other one, read timeout. This maybe you can give or you can ignore, but just for the understanding purpose I'm giving it. Read timeout, I mean at this point of time. Okay, so colon space, the quotation you have to give the value. So for HTTP connector, we have externalized these three values. Next, what connector we need to externalize? Database connector. So here we have this database connector. So like that, how many connectors you have, or how many configurations you have given actually hard-coded values or director values here. For all the connectors, you have to create the placeholders. They are nothing but placeholders in the property files, the key names which we have mentioned, right? Those are called placeholders. So now what you need to create that what connector next we need to do for database connector. So you can give database, and what are the values? Host, port, user, password, database name, right? So maybe you can simply say it is db colon as per the root name, and now enter, give tab. Now you need to add one by one value, just like we did for HTTP connector. So what would be the first value? I mean first key value we need to maintain, host, and I am just copying this host. Just click OK. Go to your local.property file. Give the key name host colon space, in the double quotation you need to give the value, right? So just like that you need to capture all the other things as well. So next one, port 3306. Next one, user. Let me copy this. So port colon, in the double quotation the value is 3306, and the next one, user colon space, in the double quotation paste that value. And just observe carefully, if something is missed or some syntax is missed, you need to adjust it accordingly while copy paste these values. Okay, so value should be in double quotation, and after the colon one space should be there. You need to remember that, and tab space should be there here for all the keys. Okay, right. So next one, host, port, and password, and database name, right? So let me copy one by one. So this is password colon space, the double quotation, paste the value. Next one is database name. So till now what we have done, we have copied the values in one property file, but we have not called those property file here. Remember that we need to do that as well. Okay, we are just copying these values somewhere in the property file, but our ultimate goal is to externalize all properties. Means you should not give original values or direct values here. That is called hard coding, as I said earlier. You should not give actual values here. You need to call this, you need to pass these values from the properties file. You need to invoke that property file's key here. Instead of giving the actual value, you should follow some syntax in Mulesoft. By using that syntax, you have to give that property file key here, so that while runtime, like while deploying this application or while running this application, the values will be pick up from your properties file automatically. But for how dev.yaml will pick up, how stage.yaml will pick up, prod.yaml will pick up, we will see now. Okay, so now we have captured all the database connector values and HTTP property values we have actionalized here in local.yaml. So as of now you have all the same values, so just copy paste the everything as the same for all in all the properties file. So I didn't modify anything. But your real-time project, what will happen? For dev, you have one username and password and host. For stage, there are different values. For prod, there will be different values. So you need to remember this thing in your real-time projects, because in your real-time projects, we are not going to create these databases and all. You will get it from the database team or from the client team. So they will create different databases for you for each and every environment. You need to gather this information. You need to capture that values here into our specific property file accordingly. Okay, remember that point. So as of now, we have only one database and one environment in our database. I'm just copying all the values in all properties file as it is. Right, now let's see how you can make sure which property file should pick at the runtime. But before that, you need to understand the syntax, how to call this property file key value keys. I mean, how to call this property file syntax in your connector. Let's see that first. So to call them, you need to follow the syntax. Okay, before that, let me just copy paste these values somewhere, which will be handy for me. So I'm just to copy paste these values in one notepad, just to take this key and values just for handy. And one thing, if you are already aware of this, maybe this is just a revision for you, but if you are doing it first time, please pay attention, because this is very important topic. Even in your interviews also, you will get how to invoke the property file how to invoke the properties from the property files in any configuration, or how to create these like this. You will get multiple questions. Okay, so I'm just removing all the values for now, because we need to call all these values from properties file. We should not give any values here. Okay, right. So I have removed all the values. Now how you can invoke values from property file. So you should follow that some syntax. What is that? First, you need to give dollar symbol and flower braces, closed and open flower braces, open and closed. Okay, inside this open and closed flower braces, you need to give the key name. So here, wait, this is the database connector, right? Yeah, so this is the database connector. Database connector host value, you need to read it from property file. So you should go to your property file. Okay, this is my main name. So db dot and the actual key name. So db is the main name, dot actual key name means host. So db dot host. And you should enclose this key name in the flower braces, and before that you need to give dollar symbol. This is the syntax to read values from property file, just like we will do the other things. Okay, so this is the database port, right? So first thing, dollar open flower braces and go to here. You need to add port, you need to read this port, right? So main, please observe is there any root main element. So here db is the main one, so copy paste it here, dot the sub element name, key name is port, and close the flower process. Just like this, you need to read all the values in the same format. Flower braces open and close, and before that you need to add dollar and db dot, and what is this, user, right? So user. So now we are not giving the actual values, we are just calling all the key names. All the key names, you know, right? In JSON, everything is key value pair. So just like in your YAML file also, these are called keys. This is value. This is key. This is value. But to make all these things in come under some particular category, so for a particular connector, we use it to follow this kind of best practices. Like for HTTP connector, you need to give one root key name and gives tab. You can give all the properties by using key value pairs and by following this syntax. Right. So we are configuring DB connector now. So DB is our root key name and dot the sub key names. Like this, you need to provide the property file and you need to invoke it by using this syntax. So dollar, so you can just click on show password, dollar, and yeah, I have just given password. It won't work. So root element also I have to give and db dot password. Just like that. For database name I have given, right? So flower braces, sorry, dollar flower braces db dot the database name and close the braces. So this is how you need to externalize properties of any connector, and you need to read the values from the property file by using this syntax. Let's just click on test connection. It won't work. It will show you error because we have not yet let this our mule application know it should go to property file and read the value. Which property file it should go and read? We have created 4 properties files: dev, stage, prod, local. Right. So if you simply give the key name here, how Anypoint Studio will understand, or how your project will understand from which property file it should read the values. For now, we have values, same values in all property file, but in real time, values will be differ. So how Anypoint platform, or sorry, Anypoint Studio or your project will know which property file to refer to get the values. That configuration also we need to done. Before that, let's do the same for HTTP listener as well. So just remove the values. This time how you can read the values. HTTP connector, we have given root name as HTTP dot port, right? So for the port, dollar, open and close flower braces, HTTP dot key name is port. This one, right? So read timeout also, just do it in the same way. And you have to capture this path as well. http.path. Right. So now let's save this. Okay, now let's see how we can make sure this should be referred by which property file and all. So to do that, we need to add one global element, and yeah, before that, let's do one thing. As a best practice, what we need to do, we need to create one global.xml file where we need to capture all the global elements. So I'm just creating a new configuration file. Sorry, it took new project. Okay, so right click on your SSC main menu and create new configuration file. Name it as global.xml. This is also a best practice where you capture all the global elements into one XML file. Ultimately you should follow this one. Okay, so how you can capture that? So go to the other XML files, go to global elements. See here you have 2 global elements. How to copy this and paste it here? For that, let's do one thing. So in this global.xml file, let's create our configuration setting first, then you will understand. Otherwise you can just copy paste somewhere, it will throw you syntax errors. Okay, go to global elements in this global.xml file and click on create, search for configure, and you will see configuration properties. Okay, so by using this component, you will let this application know or this Mulesoft Anypoint Studio or your project know which property file to refer and or when, like that. Okay, so just click on this configuration properties, and here the file name you need to select. If you have only one property file, you can directly browse that property file and you can directly select that property file. So it will take properties and local.yaml. Let's test this first maybe, so that you will get better idea. So I'm just, what I have done, I have just selected the direct local.yaml file. Let's maybe test it once. Click on test connection. Now you should go to local.yaml file and get the values. It should not throw error now, it should show, yeah, test connection successful, right? So what we have done, let me just close this. Yeah, what we have done in our configuration property file, we have directly set the local.yaml. So that is why whenever we read the properties from properties file, it should go to directly local.yaml file and pull the values, and it should it mapped the values with that particular connector, and it shows test connection is successful. But you should not give directly local.yaml like this, because the property file will change based on the environment, right? If you deploy your application into dev environment of Cloud Hub, you should pick the dev.yaml file and you should get the values from the dev.yaml file. If your application is deployed in stage environment, you should pull the values from stage.yaml file. Like that, you need to configure this also dynamically. So that is why instead of file name, you can give one placeholder or you can give one property, just like we did for earlier. How we can do dollar, open and close bracket, give env is environment, just to make this sure like environment, or sometimes we will use mule.env also we can give. It depends on your naming conventions, your project naming conventions. Okay, so for now just let's give env. No, we should not make it complicated. Just give dollar braces env.yaml. Now where this value in our properties file, we are not having any key with env, right? If we have any key, then we can just pass the value as local or dev or stage. It will pick the values. But now we didn't configure this property anywhere as of now. Let's see how we can do this. Okay, so as of now, what we have done, we have given a placeholder like env and .yaml. So if you pass env equal to local, I will show you where you can pass. So if you send env equal to local, what it will do in the runtime, it will replace the env value with local. It will refer local.yaml and get the values. So if you send env equal to dev, it should be same case sensitive. Okay, if you can give env equal to dev, it will refer dev.yaml file. If you can pass env equal to stage, it will refer to the stage.yaml file. Like this, you can configure it dynamically. Okay, so let's close this. So remember here you need to give env value somewhere. So that where you can pass is we can run this project locally also, and we can deploy this in Cloud Hub, and we can run from Cloud Hub as well. We have already seen these two options. So to make this run locally, what we have done so far, we have done like sorry, mule. What is this? Sorry. Run as mule application. Yeah. Oh, my cursor. So we have while running this locally, got stuck. Just give me 1 second. So what you have done earlier, you have selected run as mule application. Right, directly it will run and it will deploy it. But now, as if you have anything, something like this, if you want to pass any values, any keys, some additional keys to make this application run, you need to, instead of clicking mule application, you need to click on run configurations. So here you can select the general tab. It will show you all the projects open in your Anypoint Studio. So now you want to run this project, right? So you need to select this, and from where you can pass the value using this argument section. Here how you can ignore the existing values. You can just keep it as it is, don't edit anything. Just give one space and give -D And what is the key you have mentioned there? env. That is your key in your properties. You have mentioned it dynamically, right? So env equal to local. So whenever you say env equal to local and click on apply and run, it will pull the values from local.yaml. It will mean your project. So if you can just send this like hyphen capital D env equal to dev, sorry, hyphen capital D env equal to dev. Once you run this application, it will go to dev.yaml file. If you can, if you give this instead of dev stage, it will refer stage.yaml file. Like this, to make this application run locally, you need to pass this environment variable here in the argument section. Okay, so for now I'm not saving it anything. I'm just closing it. So what we have done, how we can do it? So go to run configurations. Here you need to select which application to run and go to arguments. Here the syntax to pass this environment variable is space hyphen capital D env. This is your key name which you have mentioned in your configuration properties element, and equal to the value which you want to pass, dev local prod or stage, depends on your requirement. So to make this run locally, to run this application locally, we are passing that value by using this method. So how we can send this value from Cloud Hub? Okay, so yeah, this is my new account now. I think the old application is also not there. Okay, I'll tell you how you can pass this environment variable in Cloud Hub once we deploy this application. Okay, so in Cloud Hub, we will have an option called runtime. In the runtime manager, we deployed the application, right? In our application, we will have an option called runtime properties. So in that properties tab, you will give this env equal to local, env equal to dev, or env equal to stage based on your environment where you deployed your application. That I'll show you later maybe. Okay. So for now we have discussed how to read the property file, how we can make it dynamically, and how to send the env value by using local. Now let's do some cleanup like as I started earlier. So all the global elements should be in global.xml file. Now go to configuration XML. See, this /mule is the end tag. So you should not touch this. I'm just giving it. So inside this /mule tag, you have to paste all the global elements. So ignore this global.xml and you need to refer all the other configurations files. Initially it should be looks like this. Go to global elements. What are the global elements available? HTTP listener, router. How you can copy this? Go to configuration XML file. Okay, before you have any flow element, all the global elements are available up to that line. Like flow line is available, line number 8, right? So on top of that, these two are the global elements. Global elements, HTTP listener, router. These two global elements code is these lines of code 3 to 4, line number 3 to line number 7. How you can make sure if this is okay? So just go to this just go to this configuration XML file. You can just observe where this mule tag is there. Fine. Before that, below to that mule tag and above to this flow tag, anything if it is available, all the things we can consider it as a global configurations. So cut from here, Control X. Okay, remove the data from here, from 4 to 7, because see, if you observe anything between this mule tag and flow tag, those is that code is related to global elements. So I just selected them and cut it. Then go to your global.xml file and before this /mule tag, just paste it. Okay, save it. Don't worry, it should show it will show some error like name should be unique, because in every component name should be unique name. You should not give duplicate values. We already removed it from this api.xml, right? So it will take some time to sync. So now you can see in api.xml file global elements section, nothing is there. We moved them to the global.xml file global elements section, right? Just like that, you need to remove global elements available in another configuration file, library impl.xml. Here we have one global element called database. This is also you need to take it from this file and paste it in the global.xml file. So ultimately the goal of this best practices is all the global elements configuration should be there in global.xml file. Instead of having in multiple files, you need to create one global.xml configuration file. Here you should not, in this global.xml file, you should not have any business logic. Okay, any flows you should not have any flows here. Only in the global elements section you should see all the global elements related to this particular project in one place. Okay, so now let's copy this. See in the library impl we have one global element. Now we need to copy this code from here and paste it into global.xml file. So go to configuration xml file. So what I have told you, between this mule tag and flow tag, what is the code available? That is nothing but your global elements. And remember that don't copy these lines. Okay, so this mule tag is start tag na, until here, till this closed braces, this entire thing comes under this mule tag. So don't get confused. Okay, so that is why just click enter after this angular braces end. So this complete line of code is related to this mule tag only. Don't copy or cut from here. So just give any enter. Now you will see code reliability. Then before the flow tag, so hit some enter. So you will understand what is available between this mule tag and flow tag. So copy that content and cut from here. Go to your global.xml file and before this slash mule tag, paste it here. Yeah, click yes. It will generate new ID. That won't be an issue. Now save it. Once you save it, errors will gone because the reference will be there here now. So once we remove it from here and paste it here, initially it should show some error. Once you save the file, error will gone. Okay, now go to global elements. See, all the global elements are available in global.xml file, and in ap.xml file nothing global elements are there. In the other configuration files there is no global elements. So this point also you need to remember. This is also one best practice you need to follow in your real-time project suggested by Mulesoft. This may be one of your interview question as well. So how to manage all the global elements, so what is the best practice to do that like that. Okay, right. So today we have seen how to create property files, how to create environments, and a lot of stuff. So let's stop this video here. And remember one thing, once you stop the video and once you are done with your work, you have to commit your code to your Git repository. Right, so I am just committing this code to my Git repository. So that is your day-to-day task. Don't forget that. So show in System Explorer. Open this, right click, git bash here. So don't forget this on daily basis. Commit your code to your repository. Git status. This is to check what are the different files I have modified. So we have a lot of files. So git space add space dot to add all the files. Again see git status, it will show you list of files you have added. Just verify, cross check once if these are all the files you have added. Now git commit -m space, in the quotations you need to give the comment. I will give now like property files and externalization. Okay, externalization changes maybe to make it more clear. Now you need to push this to remote repository. Git push, git space push space origin. Now it will push the code to remote repository. Now all these property files and everything will be visible for you in Azure DevOps. As of now, you don't have any property files. I didn't refresh it. Okay, so you don't have any. Okay, it automatically refreshed. That's okay. Yeah, refreshed it. So you can see global.xml file, and in the resources you need to see properties and all the property files you have created just now. So don't forget to commit your code to your feature branch on daily basis once you're done with your work. Right. So let me just yeah, refresh. Yeah, automatically it refreshed. So now everything is showing cylinder, yellow cylinder. It means my local code and my remote repository is in sync, up to date. The code available in my local Anypoint Studio is same like the code available in Azure DevOps remote repository. Right, I hope you got information and some new learning from this video. We will see in another video with another topic. And remember one thing, yeah, before we sign off, yeah. So we have given this username, password, everything, all the values here, right? But we have to do one more thing. We need to encrypt these values. All the sensitive information you need to encrypt. You should not give direct values even in the property file itself. That is also not the best practice. So when we discuss about the security section, we will see how we can encrypt these values, how we can update these property files again. Okay, that we need to discuss later. For now, just practice these things. It is a if you are doing it first time, maybe this is the big stuff you have to do. So let's discuss the other topics in our next videos. Thank you.